We start the day's other headlines with the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize, which was awarded to Nihon Hidankyo, a Japanese group of survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The 1945 atomic bombings by U.S. forces were the first and only nuclear attacks in history. In Japan, survivors are known as hibakusha, and many have dedicated their lives to abolishing nuclear weapons. Their win today was, in a way, a warning. The chair of the Nobel Committee said, quote, "In a world ridden with conflicts, we wanted to highlight the importance of strengthening the nuclear taboo." The winners were shocked when they heard the news. The organization's co-chair said their stories matter now more than ever before.
What I seek the most is peace, of course. The images of the children in Gaza covered with blood held by their parents remind me of Japan 80 years ago. Children lost their fathers in the war and lost their mothers with the nuclear bomb. They became orphans.
Palestinian officials say the war in Gaza has killed more than 42,000 people, the majority women and children. And Russian President Vladimir Putin recently announced a shift in his country's nuclear policy. That was seen as a warning to the West against allowing Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range weapons. But overnight, it was a Russian missile that struck deep into Ukraine, hitting the southern port city of Odessa and killing at least 4 people. Located on the Black Sea, Odessa is one of Ukraine's biggest hubs for exporting grain. Russia has attacked it 4 times this week alone in an apparent effort to damage one of Ukraine's economic lifelines. In the meantime, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was in Germany today, where he received a pledge of more than $1 billion in military support from Chancellor Olaf Scholz. And he urged all Western partners not to let up their assistance.
For us, it is very important that aid does not decrease next year. For us, it is very important to think about the coming year, to have everything sufficient to protect people and lives.
Russian President Vladimir Putin was engaging with his own allies today, meeting with Iran's president at a conference in Turkmenistan. He told regional leaders he wants to create a, quote, new world order against the West. New data shows an increase in migrants crossing the Darien Gap last month. That's a rugged stretch of dense jungle between Colombia and Panama that connects South America to Central America. Records show that more than 25,000 migrants crossed in September, a rise of more than 50% from a month before. Of those, 80% came from Venezuela after that country's controversial July elections and the crackdown that followed. In total, nearly 278,000 migrants have crossed this year amid a push by Panama's new president to curb migration. In Texas, an investigation is underway into what caused a gas leak at an oil refinery that killed 2 people. Dozens more were treated for poisoning. Emergency vehicles rushed to the Pemex facility in Deer Park outside Houston yesterday. Authorities say that the victims were killed when hydrogen sulfide leaked during work at the facility. That's a foul-smelling gas that can be toxic at high levels. Officials issued a shelter-in-place order, but that has since been lifted. It's the second such incident in the past 2 weeks. This natural gas pipeline, also in Deer Park, spewed massive flames for more than 4 days last month. Boeing says that it's cutting 17,000 jobs and delaying the rollout of its 770X wide-body plane as a month-long strike by factory workers hurts its finances. That is about 10% of the plane maker's global workforce. In a statement, Boeing CEO said the cuts are necessary, quote, to align with our financial reality. A strike by more than 30,000 workers has shut down production of Boeing's 737 MAX jet, among others. This week, Boeing withdrew its latest contract offer after talks between the union and management broke down. American consumers are growing a bit more concerned about the state of the economy. Today's reading on consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan showed a dip in October after 2 months of gains. Economists say consumers are frustrated by high prices for goods and services. That comes as a Labor Department report showed producer prices were unchanged in September from the month before, which signals a continued easing of overall inflation. On Wall Street today, stocks surged to new records after some strong earnings from big financial companies. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 400 points to a new all-time high. The Nasdaq added about 60 points on the day, and the S&P 500 closed above 5,800 for the first time ever. And stargazers were treated to a dazzling display last night as the Northern Lights put on a show much further south than usual. A celestial collage of colors could be seen in New York, Washington, D.C., and even Kentucky. The mix of purples, greens, and reds is actually caused by a series of strong solar storms hitting Earth. When particles and energy from the sun collide with gases in our atmosphere, they can emit photons of brilliant light. Similar conditions are set for tonight, but experts say the lights will only be visible in Canada and some northern U.S. states. Still to come on the NewsHour, where the presidential candidates stand on abortion and IVF access. David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart on what to expect in the final weeks before Election Day. And why an English town is hoping the success of its soccer team will revive the local community.